Hello guys, how are you all? Welcome back to my channel. So, today we are gonna see, what if cold prodigy Naruto married with Ino, part 1. Subscribe if you enjoy the video, and also support Black Forest for his fantastic skill, link in description, so let's begin the story. Do you know why I have called you to my office, Naruto? The Hokage inquired kindly, his hands clasped tightly in front of his face. Naruto's face was hidden behind an intricately designed and exquisite fox mask, its white features clashing with 3 thick strokes on each side. The Hokage frowned slightly. He could not sense anything from the child, neither excitement or nervousness, but a flat, dull composure. It was so strange it was disconcerting. Is this truly Naruto, the vibrant infant I had met 8 years ago? What has shaped him into such an indifferent person that he is now? The Hokage mused, leaving his question lingering in his mind. No, Hokage-sama, Naruto replied. He did not ask what he was here for, but instead, he waited silently for the elderly man in front of him to answer. He was in the midst of packing his belongings to prepare for his latest mission when he was summoned to the Hokage. Well, you see, Naruto-kun. The Hokage paused for a moment, hesitant of what he was about to do. What will Naruto think of him? Will he hate him for plucking him from the Anbu forces? He had not yet considered the consequences for his actions, but nevertheless, it is something that has to be done. I have decided to take you out of the Anbu forces, he started, but was immediately interrupted by the small blonde boy in front of him. What? For once, the Hokage could notice a hint of surprise in his voice, instead of his usual cool and aloof tone. Could you please repeat that again, Hokage-sama? At this, the old ninja sighed exasperatedly. Even when Naruto was in the presence of his close associates, he did not remove his mask of apathy and neglect the formalities. I have considered this for a long time, Naruto-kun. I have made the decision that is best for you. I want you to re-enter the Shinobi Academy and learn the basics of being a genin again. Before Naruto could protest, the Hokage silenced him. Let me explain, Naruto-kun. My reason for you to re-enter the academy is that you are too far ahead of your own age group, and even though you are a prodigy ninja, I want you to mix around the children and make some friends. I do not need friends, Hokage-sama, the young Anbu responded, spitting out the word friends with venom in his icy voice. Ah, smiled them with a benevolent look in his eyes. That, I do know, but my decision is final. You shall be admitted into the Shinobi Academy. Under the tutelage of Iruka-san, I trust that you will recall what you have learnt in the previous years. No. I hope that you will never bully your classmates, Naruto. The Hokage smiled good-naturedly at the mature ninja prodigy, while he could distinctly hear silent grumbles coming from under Naruto's Anbu mask. He resisted the urge to smirk. Naruto glared at his fox mask. The slits looked back at him with its sinister hollow eyes, they seemed to be laughing at the mess he was in. He was back in his own small one-room apartment that he rented, sitting on his bed and thinking about the things that the Hokage had told him. He did not want to return to that academy again. It was like returning to a horrible nightmare that he could not wake up from. Friends, Naruto tested the foreign word on his tongue. He had spent all his life concentrating on what was left for him, training and undertaking missions. Since when did he need friends? He had colleagues, of course, but they are different from friends. They only watch your back while doing missions, or even just run when you are in danger. But no, friends would risk their lives saving you, would they not? Since his infancy, the villagers had hated him, and he had endured that. Naruto had become a genin when he was merely a child of 6, rising in the ranks rapidly, becoming a when he was 8, a when he was 10 and now, an Anbu. Treated like dirt, he had struggled through the years for his survival. He was never treated with any respect, as he was just a child. No one had realized his hatred for the village under that unruffled facade, the pain he had hidden for so long, and the anger at the villagers for treating him ill when he had done nothing wrong, done nothing to offend them. Naruto glanced at the neat stacks of instant ramen in the cupboard. He most probably had to put up with those damn things. Sure, they are tasty and easy to prepare, but he mainly ate them due to their cheapness and convenience. Hell, when was the last time he had tasted the mortal delicacies of this earth while he was still in this foul village? He did not like the idea of being thrown out of restaurants at all. Pouring boiled water into the cup of ramen, he stirred the half-cooked noodles subconsciously, staring into space. He remembered when he was just 5 years old, the Hokage had seen much potential in him, training Naruto personally and promoting him to a genin. What he wanted most was simply respect. He had banked on his childish dream of becoming a Hokage as the key to earning that respect, but that was long ago. He had long since abandoned that dream. The more he had tried to believe in himself in being able to achieve his dream, the more people gave him looks of distaste. But he still had not given up on living, even though he could see nothing in front of him but a bleak future. What use was it to persevere through life when there really was no point at all? He had considered suicide as an option before a realization struck him. If he gives up now, the villagers will then have the opportunity to gloat over him being so weak. Over my dead body, he thought bitterly. Picking up a pair of chopsticks, he started eating the ramen with a vicious energy. Now, class, settle down. I would like to introduce to you a new student who will be joining us in the academy, Uzumaki Naruto, a man with a scar on the bridge of his nose, wrinkled in revulsion. When the Hokage had said a new student, he had not expected it to be the child prodigy demon vessel. Of course, he did not have anything against that poor child who contained the beast, but Iruka just could not forget about his parents who had been slaughtered by the Nine Tails. Looking at the unresponsive look on Naruto's face, he wondered if the child knew the truth about the almighty demon. "Hello," Naruto muttered, his greeting almost inaudible. He wore a red t-shirt with a black windbreaker over it and simple black jeans. His rather long locks of blonde hair lay messily on his head, and his gorgeous sapphire blue eyes would cause the girls in his classroom to swoon. Of course, his attractive features made two girls start to squabble at the back of the classroom. "I want to sit with him, you Ino pig." "No, big forehead. He's sitting with me. Naruto-san, you shall sit beside Sasuke in the front row over there. He is the top of the class and has been for a while now, and he can share pointers with you. I'm sure you will like that," Iruka grinned at Naruto. The two girls kept quiet instantly, but they did not stop glaring at each other. Naruto turned to the glaring Sasuke. If looks could kill, Naruto would be dead by now. Naruto stared directly into the raven-haired boy's eyes, his piercing gaze making Sasuke give up glaring and look away. The blonde approached the empty chair and took his seat. He scanned the classroom, identifying a few people from various clans. There, sitting in the middle with a boy who reeks of dog scent from the Inuzuka clan, a blue-haired girl with non-existent pupils' eyes from the famous Hyuga clan, a pleasantly plump boy from the Akimichi clan, the bug controller from the Aburam clan and several others. As we were talking about the different ways that shuriken can be thrown, Iruka-sensei started, and he averted his attention back to the Shinobi Academy teacher. Naruto could feel himself wishing for himself to be somewhere else except here. "Hokage-sama. This is a serious matter. That Uzumaki vessel is too powerful. We may not even have the strength to confine him to just Konoha and its ideals. What if he pulls an Itachi and kills everyone in Konoha? Can't you think of the consequences? Why did you enter him into the Anbu in the first place?" The head of the Hyuga clan spoke rather harshly, even though he usually was the calm person, the one who would think rationally before speaking. Upon hearing Itachi, a few clan heads of Konoha shuddered involuntarily. It was hard enough to believe the child prodigy of the Uchiha clan had turned against Konoha and went to join the Akatsuki that consists of S-class missing shinobi after the Great Massacre and the chaos he had caused in his clan and in the village itself. As the Hyuga so much as mutters out the words that consist of that Uzumaki vessel, powerful and kills everyone in Konoha, the faces of the many clan heads in the meeting room visibly blanched. Yes, they are that afraid of the demon vessel. They saw him as a daunting shadow of the nine-tailed fox demon that assaulted the village of Leap years ago. "Hiashi, you don't know what you are saying. Don't go around calling Naruto-kun as the vessel. You do know about the rule," the third Hokage replied, an icy cold fury in his tone. It was when everyone knew why he was the Hokage. "He is not a person to mess with." But Hiashi protested, but he was immediately silenced by the Hokage. "As I was saying, I entered him into Anbu because of the trust I had in him. I already saw where his loyalties lie when I became his personal sensei, Hiashi. His eyes told me that the day he betrayed Konoha is the day he would die," the Sandame said, his eyes holding a determined glint that made the ninjas in the room look at him with awe and respect. They made him the Hokage he is now because of his wisdom and the strength he has under those old and weary appearances. He is the third Hokage, the ruler of the hidden village of Leaf. But his powers are to be questioned. The children in his age group are still in the academy, learning how to throw the shuriken and perform henge properly, while Naruto has already mastered techniques and his chakra and stamina are of a Hokage's standard. He's still 12 years old and yet so mature. He has even gone on missions and has killed people. "Hokage-sama, this child is still too young. A boy of his age should not have experienced such, powerful or not," the leader of the Aburam clan said evenly. The Hokage sighed, weariness etching itself on his face. "And I wonder why that poor child is still sane." Sarutobi recalled the time when Naruto was 5 and was being trained by him. Those days were tough for that little child. When he was 8, he had already done a few B-class missions, staining his hands with a dreadful deep scarlet of blood. The Hokage thought the experience was traumatic for that young boy, surely, but Naruto seemed unfazed with those killings, as he had once told Sarutobi. "I enjoyed it, Hokage-sama. They begged me to end their pain, and yet the strange expression on their faces confused me greatly." The Hokage had realized that Naruto was talking about the horrified expressions on the shinobi faces when they were facing the death god himself. Naruto was just a child. He could not understand the terror, the fear that ran through one's mind when one was about to be killed. For his victims he felt neither guilty nor pain. He felt no pity or sympathy for their friends or families. He learned the art of destruction, an effective killing machine. Naruto was being himself, after all. Therefore, Hokage-sama, I propose that we readmit Naruto into the Shinobi Academy where he will be among children of his age and let him work his way up to being a genin again. It is not fair that at his age there is blood on his hands, the bug controller offered. This is Hiashi tried to speak again, as he was in a fit of fury. This is an outrage. How can the Hokage endanger the children in the academy with someone like the Kyuubi brat? His power is equal to an elite, but his standards are that of an Anbu, Hokage-sama. What if he could not adapt to being a genin? The head of Inuzuka inquired. He is still a child, Naruto will adapt to being a child, the Hokage answered. A pregnant pause settled in the room, occasionally punctuated by the chirpings of birds outside. Then it is decided. He will return to the academy tomorrow morning. I will tell him to abandon all the missions he has for now. The Hokage broke the silence and stared at the Hyuga intently, who was trying to suppress his anger. Hiashi merely gave a death glare to the Aburam head sitting across him, who shrugged indifferently and left the room silently. The other leaders of various clans nodded in respect at the Hokage and left accordingly. Do you still have any more things to say to me, Hiashi? The Hokage asked, standing up. Hiashi bit his lower lip. This was not what he had expected from this meeting. He wanted the demon vessel away from Konoha, away from the fire country. The Naruto brat had proved that he had high potential. What if he destroyed the village and took all the people of Konoha to hell along with it? Hiashi had seen the coldness in that boy's sky blue eyes, the malice and the hatred. He had trembled in fear when facing the demon vessel. The almighty Hyuga clan head had trembled. The fear of the Kyuubi was still buried in Hiashi's heart, and he could not forget about the demon that had attacked the village 12 years ago. The flash of his memory, of bloodied corpses that strewn about the village, of a hurricane of blood, pain, and death, resurfaced. He shuddered involuntarily. No, Hokage-sama, Hiashi managed weakly. The day is the day when all of you graduate as genin, Iruka-sensei declared loudly from the front of the noisy class, which quickly settled down upon hearing their teacher's announcement. All you have to do to pass the test is to make 3 bunshin, and that they must look the exact replica of you or you will fail. Some students in the class had already broken out in cold sweat, their anxiety gripping them as Iruka started calling out names in alphabetical order, one by one. Iruka managed a tiny smile when he looked at his students who were able to do the bunshin perfectly, with no flaws in the clones at all. He thought that his past efforts had been worth it for this huge achievement. They had done him proud. He watched as Haruno Sakura did 3 clones flawlessly and beamed at the teacher. Yes, it was all worth it. At last, it was Uchiha Sasuke's turn. He ignored the whole group of ballistic girls who were yelling random things like, "Go Sasuke-kun, show them what you've got. I know Sasuke-kun can do more than 100 clones." And what? Of course he can do more than that. Go, Sasuke-kun. Sasuke was very used to this fan club he has in the school. Forget about having girls shouting your name wherever you go, but recently, he could sense that several girls were stalking him. Those strange girls wouldn't train and become stronger, but only cause trouble for him. He did not think anything of those girls. They were just a burden to him, a stumbling block on his path to his goal. The Uchiha merely did the seal that was needed for the Bunshin no Jutsu clone technique, uttering the words, Bunshin no Jutsu. And 10 clones appeared beside him. Many girls were awed by his calmness and the fact that he could do 10 clones without breaking a sweat. It was no wonder he was the child prodigy everyone had called him in their year. Uchiha Sasuke, you pass. Next, Uzumaki Naruto, Iruka glanced at the raven-haired boy who took his place among those who had already passed the genin test. Sakura blushed furiously when Sasuke took a place beside her, oblivious to her embarrassment. Naruto-san, please create 3 clones, the academy teacher instructed. Naruto nodded slightly and mouthed the words Bunshin no Jutsu, and 10 clones appeared without any hand seals. Iruka gaped at the blonde kid in front of him who dismissed the clones easily. Naruto had done the Bunshin no without any hand seals. The girls in class drooled and many boys just stared at the blonde dumbfounded, even the brooding Avenger, even if it was just for a second. Why is he that strong? Sasuke narrowed his eyes dangerously, like a predator watching its prey with hawk-like eyes. He had never thought much of that bizarre blonde who had just entered the academy a week ago. He had merely thought of Naruto as just another individual who would be a burden to him someday. He thought that of everyone. But now, he could not stop himself from wishing that Naruto would be in his team that will be announced tomorrow. Ino and Sakura regarded Naruto as vultures eyeing a hunk of meat. They totally forgot about the pretty boy beside them. Anger rose within the brunette unconsciously. Well, I will surpass that guy over there. He is the only other student in this academy. Naruto took his place among the students who had already passed without saying a word. This was all too strange for Naruto. What was so wrong with him that all the pupils in the class were staring openly at him? He did not like the attention, especially the fury radiating from the silent Sasuke sitting a few seats in front of him. He definitely did not want to be in any team with Sasuke. Iruka regained control of the class hastily and his voice, clearing his throat and speaking loud and clear, Naruto, you pass. Naruto walked along the pavement leading to his apartment while a group of ants started to dash past him, yelling and making a din. Clearly, nobody wanted to give him any peace and serenity after such a long day in the academy with a Genin test. He still could not understand about the Hokage's intentions of sending him back to academy and taking the Genin test again. Had the Sandaime underestimated him or simply thought that he is too young to do missions of Anbu? If it were true, Naruto would have no qualms. But what he really wanted to know was what had motivated the Hokage to send him back into the academy. Were there strings being pulled here? Naruto nearly sighed inwardly, but he remained silent as he listened to what they were shouting about. Mizuki, that nonsense traitor. We will show him about betraying our village. I bet he took that scroll to learn those forbidden secrets, that son of a. Naruto did not hear the finishing word of that particular ninja's sentence as he sped off to look for that academy teacher. He could not understand why that teacher would want to steal such an important scroll from Konoha. Whenever he saw Mizuki, he always saw that good-natured smile on his face, and Naruto was always reminded of the third Hokage. Now why would he want to steal the scroll? He flitted from tree to tree, increasing his pace at a furious rate. His mind already registered this as a mission. The scroll was forbidden, Mizuki-sensei, he just could not relate the academy teacher with the scroll. They were as compatible as a fish on dry land. Could he have wanted to steal it to give it to another enemy of Konoha, or he really did want to simply get stronger? How naive, Naruto mused. Just another power-hungry shinobi. These fools are plain stupid. He scoffed at the frightened look on Mizuki, which quickly turned into a sneer when he saw Naruto. Ah, a mere Genin thinks he can defeat alone without any help from other people. Who do you think you are? Don't try to play the hero, boy, you'll only get hurt, Mizuki snarled in revulsion, like tasting something foul in his mouth upon discovering that his opponent was only Naruto. He had thought that someone who had caught up with him may be the Anbu, or even several or dot. But he never expected it to be just a blonde Genin who had only passed the Genin test this afternoon. What do you want the scroll for? I heard people shouting at you for stealing it, Naruto retorted coolly. Of course you will never know, fool. This scroll contains the most powerful in Konoha, which makes it forbidden for other shinobi. Whoever wants to be as powerful as the Hokage would yearn for such a thing, Mizuki retorted, laughing maniacally, echoing throughout the dark forest. It was stopped abruptly when a kunai was neatly buried into his heart, followed by 4 more lodging in his body and terror and pain in his eyes. He fell to the ground with a low thud as the 5 kunai claimed his life, blood gushing out from the wounds. I wouldn't want you for a Hokage, Naruto said softly, picking up a huge scroll that Mizuki had tried to steal, only to be stopped by him. The demon vessel then opened the scroll and poured through the contents of it. His eyes flickered from 2, and finally his attention was on a single that the Yondaime had used on Kyuubi to seal it into an infant 12 years ago. He did not know how he should see the 4th Hokage. The village's hero or someone he should truly hate with all his life. Naruto wondered if he could reverse the one that the Yondaime had used. He glanced through the words on the scroll, and he could only come up with an answer. The 4th Hokage had been a genius for coming up with a that was irreversible. Of course, he did not feel much sadness. Naruto understood the consequences if the seal could by any chance be reversible. He may die in the process, or even the Kyuubi may take the lives of the Konoha villagers. Not that he cared, though. Naruto skimmed through some techniques that may prove useful to him some other days, and quickly left it just where he found Mizuki-sensei, as he heard people running in his direction. He took a quick look at the bloody heap of mess that was Mizuki, the traitor. You deserved that. The class quickly settled down as Iruka-sensei came into the classroom, students anticipating Iruka to announce the teams they would be in. Most were nervous and some looked pretty confident, like Ino and Sakura at the other side of the classroom. I will be the one to have Sasuke-kun on my team. Ino exclaimed like a 3-year-old, screaming for candy. No, I will be the one. Sakura growled predatorily, wanting to show Ino who's calling the shots here. It was then, Iruka decided to stop the Perilous 2 and declare the teams. Ino glared daggers at Sakura, who was sneaking glimpses at the raven-haired boy sitting at another corner of the classroom. Team 1 Iruka began to read out from a piece of paper while the students leaned forward of their desks, wanting to know about their team eagerly. Finally, Iruka-sensei reached Sakura's name. Team 7, Haruno Sakura, Uchiha Sasuke and Uzumaki Naruto. Yes. I got the 2 most drop-dead gorgeous boys in my team. Go, Sakura. Shouted inner Sakura. She nearly yelled in glee, gloating at her own victory of the little match against Ino to compete for Sasuke-kun. Even Naruto was on her team. To hell with him being so quiet, he was just her type. Team 8, Abura Mishino, Hyuga Hinata and Inuzuka Kiba. Sasuke gave a sideway glance at the blonde boy sitting 2 seats away from him. Now that he had Naruto on his team, he could challenge him to a fight whenever he wanted. He really wanted to know the true power that lay beneath that cool demeanor of Naruto's. Of course, now the only problem was with that pink-haired girl who would definitely encumber him. He had never expected a fangirl to be in his team, nevertheless one that was completely obsessed with him. Oh, he really couldn't wait for the day when he would be doing missions along with her as a comrade. Sasuke could already hear the incessant blabbering of the Pinky already. And Team 10, Yamanaka Ino, Akamichi Choji and Nara Shikamaru. Naruto could hear the blonde girl shrieking about things like Sasuke not being in her team and how it was unfair that the laziest and fattest boys were on her team. At the point that the Yamanaka girl said the word fat, Choji's eyes had this extremely dangerous glint in it that made Ino shiver in horror. He really did anticipate that Sasuke would be in his team for some unusual reason, but he just could not make out anything about Haruno Sakura sitting over the other side, staring at Sasuke and him with flowers and little heart shapes in her large emerald green orbs. You people are Genin now. All of you shall meet your sensei in half an hour's time in different classrooms. Class dismissed, Iruka-sensei said, walking out of the classroom. Naruto sighed inwardly. The birds were chirping merrily outside, the joyful people of Konoha were bustling on the busy streets of the village, and the blissful shop owners started to set up their stalls as the morning sun was shining its breathtaking beams on the contented people of Konoha. However, one person in Konoha is really mad about something, or rather, someone in particular. Where is that dimwit teacher of ours? That stupid imbecile, does he have a death wish? Sakura yelled in frustration, swinging her fists in the air. Sasuke and Naruto merely sweat dropped. Of course, any normal person would be acting like her, like a mad woman, when someone they were expecting had not shown up for 3 whole hours. 3 hours that you could have used to bathe, train and eat lunch. About that dimwit teacher, the stupid imbecile who has a death wish on himself is here. A silver-haired man appeared just right behind Sakura, clutching her fists gently. Sasuke's eyes widened to the size of saucers. He hadn't sensed this man standing in front of him coming at all. My first impression of you, I see don't like you, Kakashi stated. Kakashi-san, Naruto acknowledged, giving a small nod from where he was standing. Sasuke's eyes nearly popped out from their sockets. He did not expect his teammate to even know about this guy at all. What was going on? Releasing his grip on the dumbfounded Sakura's hands, Kakashi turned to Naruto, his eyes narrowed to slits. Why is Uzumaki here? Is he on a mission as an Anbu to be a spy or something? How about let's introduce ourselves at the roof of the academy. See you there in, like, 5 seconds. Hada Kakashi's unhidden eye became U-shaped as he seemed to smile under his mask. He did not give his students any chance to retort, though. Okay, how about introducing yourselves to this poor dimwit teacher here first? Let's start with your names, likes, dislikes and dreams, Kakashi said, pointing at Sakura. You go first. But, sensei, you as our teacher should be introducing yourself first, isn't it? Sakura responded, as Sasuke, for the first time, agreed with the pink-haired girl. Yeah, we want to know who you are. My name is Hada Kakashi. What I like is none of your business. My dislikes, well, that's none of your business too. My dream is Kakashi trailed off, wondering what to say. Okay, your turn. So, all we know is your name? Sakura huffed angrily, putting her arms crossed on her chest. She wanted to know more about their teacher, not only his name. Kakashi merely nodded, smiling again. Alright. My name is Haruno Sakura. I like Sakura started to have those weird flowery and starry kind of eyes. My dream is to be. She turned to look at Sasuke and squealed softly, then turned to Naruto and did the same. And my forever dislike is Ino Pig. She screamed, her face red with rage. Kakashi sweat dropped at the temper of the girl. Can't she think of anything but boys? Especially when they are her teammates. Kakashi resisted the urge to sigh. Okay, the brooding boy, the silver hair jerked his head to one side, indicating that it was the Uchiha's turn to speak. Chen. I'm Uchiha Sasuke. I don't have any likes, but I have a lot of dislikes. I don't have a dream, it's more like a goal. My ultimate goal is to kill a certain person and to resurrect my clan. Kakashi narrowed his eyes. Of course, he's still thinking of killing his brother, but to resurrect his clan too. This kid is really unexpected. Okay, your turn, silent kid, Kakashi said to Naruto. Uzumaki Naruto. I like to do missions and I dislike being hated without a reason. My dream is to. Naruto closed his eyes for a moment. When he was young he had wanted to be the Hokage, but he had long given up on that dream already. But what about now? He once thought that being among the living was the best thing he could manage. Now he must survive by being on a team with people he barely knew. What was his dream? He had been so caught up in his work that he had not had time to think. Could he even dream for anything anymore? He doesn't even reckon that he has that ability to dream anymore. Whenever he saw the hatred in the villagers' eyes, he usually called and longed to be out of sight. He didn't know what to do. He didn't care anymore. To learn more, Naruto made himself believe that it was his dream. Maybe it's made up, but for now, he will settle for just that. At least he will have a goal to work towards, to exhaust himself with. If he had a dream, it would prove that he was still a simple human being, immortal and not the Kyuubi or its shadow that the villagers and the others see him as. Kakashi didn't know what the brat was thinking. Naruto was an Anbu of high rank, just like himself. He himself was 26, while Naruto was only a child of 12. Despite that, he really thought highly of the demon vessel. But why is Naruto here? Why was he demoted to a genin? Now that we have introduced each other, I will tell you that we will have survival training tomorrow at the training field, Kakashi declared. But, Kakashi-sensei. We have already done that in the academy. Sakura protested, but was interrupted by Kakashi. I am telling you the truth, and I know you guys will surely be shocked at this piece of news. The silver-haired sensei began to grin from ear to ear. Out of all the academy students that have been made genin, only 9 will be chosen as a genin. The rest will be sent back to the academy. What? Sakura shouted, obviously shaken by this piece of bad news. Sasuke seemed more broody and grim than usual, but Naruto was the only one remaining emotionless. Of course, it was the Hokage's idea to send him back to the academy, so he wouldn't worry about not being a genin when he already held a high-ranking position in Anbu. It's kind of funny though, when you see a high-ranking Anbu failing just another genin test. Naruto just had to make sure his teammates did not fail too. Oh, and remember not to eat any breakfast because you may puke tomorrow morning. Kakashi waved farewell, chuckling a little upon seeing Sakura's white face. Sasuke, Sakura and Naruto turned to go their separate ways when Kakashi called out, Naruto, just a minute. I have something to discuss with you. Sasuke and Sakura, you two may leave first. Sasuke and Sakura nodded in unison and left the roof of the school. Yes, Kakashi-sensei? Naruto inquired. If this was about the Hokage returning him to the academy, he knew what was coming. He wanted to know exactly what were the Hokage's motives. Naruto, why are you here posing as a genin? Are you being a spy of some sort for the Hokage? Kakashi lost all the cheerfulness in his voice, but replaced it with a grim and solemn tone. No, Kakashi-sensei. I would like to know the reason too, Naruto replied. Kakashi frowned. There was much talking to be done with the third Hokage. I dreamed a dream yesterday, Aji-san. Hokage-sama, Kakashi greeted casually, as if the Hokage was an old friend and not the ruler of the village of Leaf. He had been intrigued by the decision of placing Naruto in his team, posing as a mere genin when he greatly surpassed his teammates. What did the Hokage have in store for them? What exactly were the Hokage's motives? What was he trying to achieve by putting Naruto into his team? The questions had been bothering him ever since the Hokage made the decision to readmit Naruto into the ninja academy. Yet he could not question the Hokage of his motives, he was at least mindful of his place. The Hokage's word was final. But the idea of Naruto being in his team was really ridiculous. Yes, Kakashi. I understand you are here because of Naruto, am I correct? Sarutobi looked up from the mountainous pile of paperwork which awaited his attention, giving the Inbu a wan smile on his weary elderly face. God, his wrinkles can easily pass off as miniature roots, the narrow gaps in between can even trap flies in them. The smile only made him look worse. Kakashi had never seen the smile for a long time. It was that tiny, sad smile that the Sandaime had given him when the fourth Hokage had died in order to seal the rampaging demon, Kyuubi, into a newborn infant on the 10th of October. The lazy dreaded that smile. Kakashi could only look away, grimacing a little when the Sandaime gave a long, drawn-out sigh. What will the Hokage say now? Kakashi, I hope you will understand. I wanted Naruto to be recognized by the children of his age group. Did you see the amount of blood that had stained that child's hands while being in the Anbu? Carrying out missions like daily routines, this is not to be expected of a mere 12-year-old shinobi, Kakashi. He can still have friends, carrying out perhaps D-class missions and hanging out with his teammates, but never the A-class missions in which he'd kill people. It was peculiar, my dream, where I was submerged in a strange liquid. I think it was red, and I saw a girl crying before me. But, Hokage-sama, Naruto is on an entirely different level from his teammates. Sasuke and Sakura are only genin, how do you think they will handle it if they know that Naruto is from the Anbu? Kakashi asked, perturbed that the Hokage made Naruto seem like an innocent child who should not dirty his hands with that deep scarlet, but he had seen Naruto on missions before, had even been on one with him. He killed his enemies mercilessly like swatting flies, they were not worth anything in Naruto's eyes. Then the girl stopped crying and looked up at me like I'm a monster, everything was red, very red, then I saw her fall before me, her dress had a lot of blood in the dream, it was so real, I thought it really happened, Aji-san. Hokage-sama? Kakashi inquired gently, jerking the Hokage back into reality. The 4-year-old Naruto had once told him about his strange dreams. Dreams of blood, of massacres, of carnage and death. It was a time when Naruto would always confide in him, that friendless and lonely boy, and he remembered the sorrow mirrored in the boy's cerulean eyes. He didn't want to see it anymore. Kakashi, this argument is over. Naruto will stay in your team until further notice from me. Understood. Sarutobi rubbed the bridge of his nose subconsciously, feeling himself fighting to stay awake already. He was very exhausted, very fatigued. He did not want to succumb to sleep since he still had much work to be done that day. Kakashi cursed silently to himself as he could not get a straight answer from the Hokage. Yes, understood. He will ask again another day, perhaps. Aji-san, stop those dreams for me please. Naruto gripped the edge of the porcelain Ambu Fox mask when he saw Ino, the blue-eyed blonde girl he saw in the academy, walking towards him. Of course, he did not anticipate the girl to strike a conversation with him since he didn't even know her and they were the most distant of acquaintances. Things looked very awkward when Sakura decided to join Ino at that point. Hey, Naruto-kun. Sakura gave a huge grin to Naruto, but merely glared at Ino, considering the fact that they were now not only fighting over Sasuke, but Naruto too. The pink-haired girl settled beside Ino, who ignored her pointedly and visibly blanched, her face becoming flustered and red with embarrassment when Naruto addressed her directly. Ino-san, Sakura-san, Naruto acknowledged, putting the Ambu mask back into his weapon pouch, but was too slow because Sakura had discovered the presence of it. Hey, Naruto, what is that mask in your hand? Sakura asked, barely concealing her trepidation and uncertainty in her tone. She had seen these masks around before, in Konoha. Those peculiar animal masks that Konoha Anbu would carry around, obscuring their faces from others. Sakura had caught a glimpse of Naruto's one. It had a sinister fox face carved on its white porcelain, and the disconcerting smirk of the mask sent chills down her spine. It's nothing, Naruto replied nonchalantly, averting his attention from the mask. Just something I purchased along the streets just now. Ino frowned delicately on her pale features, reflecting on what Naruto had said. That's strange, Ino mused. Since when do they sell these masks around here in Konoha? Forgetting the mask, Ino piped up, hey, Naruto, do you want to come to a party that I will be holding at my house to celebrate us being Genin now? It will be really fun, since there will be food and games, and most Genin from our class will be coming too. The party? Naruto's eyes flickered toward Sakura, as though he was seeking reassurance that he heard correctly, but his pink-haired teammate merely shrugged in response. Judging from the lack of expression on that cool facade of his, Sakura got the most absurd impression that Naruto had no idea of what Ino was talking about. Yeah, a party. It will be great if you can come join us. Ino tried to keep her voice cheerful when she saw the hesitant look that was reflected in those round blue orbs of Naruto. She was looking forward to Naruto and Sasuke being at the party as she saw it as a golden opportunity to let her know more about the new student in the academy. It would be more difficult to get to know him if she missed this chance now, since they were no longer shinobi of the academy, but real genin now. I have not been told by Kakashi-sensei to participate in any activities, nor had the Hokage ordered me to do so, Naruto replied, his eyes becoming distant and unfocused. Did the Hokage mention anything about a party? Was this some sort of a test included by Kakashi to test on his social skills, or was it a trap of some kind? Naruto decided it was best to turn down the offer politely. What if someone was trying to kill him? He had enough experiences of those already. You don't need any orders to go to a party. They don't control your life even if you've been made a genin already. Come on, it's just a small celebration. It's only a day. You can stay only an hour if you want to, please come. Ino said with a pained expression, a silent desperation in her features. She really seemed genuine about only having a party, and there was also a pleading look on Sakura's face. Even if it turned out to be a trap, test or assassination, he will be able to fend off his opponents. Won't he? I will go then, Ino-san. The golden bells glinted in the harsh rays of the sun, shining brightly as it mirrored Sakura's shock and dismay. The silver-haired elite had decided to test them the same old classical bell test, which he had used on the many teams that did not pass and become genin. He smirked, placing an alarm clock at the tree stump in the middle of the training field before declaring loudly, the three of you will have an hour to get these bells from me, and the only way you can succeed in snatching it from me is to come at me like you are going to kill me, like you are fully fledged murderers. The one who fails to get one of these golden bells will be tied to that gorgeous tree trunk over there, and there will be no lunch for that person. No wonder he asked us not to eat our breakfast this morning. Sakura rolled her eyes exasperatedly, while her stomach decided to declare war with her exactly after her statement. Sasuke merely grunted in response, and Naruto stood there, staring at the two golden bells that now hung loosely from their sensei's pants. Wait a minute, there are only two of those bells. If one of them failed to get the bell, will the other two still become genin, or all of them will fail the test? But either of those explanations did not make much sense, since it seemed that their fates were sealed, and they would fail anyway. What exactly was the purpose of this test? Once I give the order, all of you can either charge at me with your killer intent or hide somewhere and plan your moves, Kakashi said, his tone laced with honey. He was about to begin when Sakura protested vehemently, but, sensei. You may get seriously injured if we really come at you with full killer intent. Do you really have a death wish? Oh come now, Sakura. Do you think I'm for nothing? Kakashi smiled a little under his mask, preparing to take out that precious book of his. He had been waiting for this moment to come, he had wanted to read about what will happen next. Wait, but one of his opponents is Naruto. God, Kakashi nearly forgot about that compass child on his team. His level is of his standards, or even higher. That meant that he couldn't enjoy the almighty series of the Icha Paradise. Things will get rough from now, Kakashi muttered under his breath. Sasuke pulled a kunai from his weapon pouch designed for ninjas, preparing to sneak a stealth attack on his teacher when he was caught. Wait. I haven't even said start yet, Sasuke-kun. Sakura gasped aloud. She hadn't even seen her teacher move at all. Let us begin. Sakura scanned her surroundings as she hid in the undergrowth while observing the melee between Kakashi-sensei and Sasuke. The raven-haired boy blew out a massive ball of flames from his mouth with a loud and clear, Katen. Kakaku no Jutsu. Fire release. Great fireball technique, and that gigantic ball of fire rushed towards the sensei. Sakura nearly wanted to scream as she saw engulfing their sensei and saw something fall onto the ground, resembling a scorched tree trunk that once was Kakashi. Awarimi no Jutsu. Body replacement technique. Sasuke narrowed his eyes, looking around the clearing to find their teacher. Sakura blinked rapidly to try and keep up with the progress of the combat of Sasuke and Kakashi-sensei. Upon discovering that their teacher had disappeared from the clearing, panic began to rise within her. She was really tense at this sort of situation, even though it had been only 15 minutes since the test had begun. Butterflies began to churn in her stomach, making her feel even worse. So far, she hadn't seen any hint of that blonde boy who she was hoping to meet. Feeling a little frustrated, she thought it would be best to meet up with Sasuke and work together against their teacher. Their opponent was an elite, after all. Tears were already threatening to fall from her eyes. Sakura didn't like the feeling of being weak at all. The thought of her comrades thinking her of being a burden made her heart clench as she rubbed the corners of her eyes furiously. Ninjas were supposed to be calm and rational at all times and should not show their emotions during situations like this. Personal matters and missions were supposed to be kept separate. Sakura was about to get up from the undergrowth when she heard a soft yo and saw Kakashi smiling at her with a strange sparkle in his visible eye. She was about to object violently when she heard a soft and quiet groan from beneath her. Sakura, help me. There was Sasuke, who Sakura had developed a crush on in her academy days, whose body was bleeding profusely from the many shuriken and kunai lodged firmly in different sections of Sasuke's battered body. He looked deathly pale, like a corpse. Unable to contain herself, tears began to flow in rivulets from her face before she could fully understand what was going on. Screaming like a crazy woman, she was enveloped in darkness promptly afterwards. Kakashi's sweat dropped. He didn't know that the girl's reaction would be so dramatic. He had merely used a normal on the girl to make her believe that Sasuke was badly injured when he saw her hiding in the bushes. Hearing the shrill cry from their pink teammate, Sasuke could feel his heart thumping inside him, anticipating Kakashi's next moves. It had been a minute since Kakashi had pulled a disappearing act on him, and in his mind, he hastily planned out what he was going to do next. Now, Sasuke-kun, I shall teach you to jutsu. Kakashi's voice came out of nowhere, and he was going to strike the still boy with his own techniques when Naruto interrupted. Katen. Ryuka no jutsu. Fire dragon flame technique. Shit. He's fast. Kakashi cursed inwardly while doing the kawarimi without hand seals to prevent getting hurt from that huge dragon that was made purely out of fire. Page Bunshin no jutsu. Shihuhapu shuriken no maki. Shadow clone technique, shuriken from all directions, Naruto said again as 20 shadow clones appeared, collectively leaping into the air and hurled a multitude of shuriken and kunai at Kakashi simultaneously, raining steel on that poor, while one of the Naruto's shadow clones saw an opening in the silver-haired Inbu and easily scored the 2 golden bells. All the clones disappeared with a loud poof, and Naruto took both of the bells with Sasuke eyeing it. Since Naruto had gotten 2 of the bells, he would at least give one to him, right? There are only 2 bells, and the one returning to the academy isn't going to be me. Sasuke smirked. Sakura was tied to that gorgeous, lovely tree trunk that Kakashi had mentioned earlier on, glaring at their sensei for tricking her with her dot. She did not expect Kakashi to actually use her own weakness against her, even though shinobi should expect these things to happen while locking a battle with enemies. Sasuke and Naruto each had gotten their lunch since they had at least fought against their sensei. However, Sakura had simply fainted in the middle of the test and therefore was tied to the tree trunk. Now, don't give Sakura food or I will fail all of you. Even though Naruto had gotten the 2 bells, all of you still don't understand the true purpose of this test. We will try again after you 2 finish eating, Kakashi said, walking away. Naruto's eyes flickered to Kakashi for a moment, and while their sensei was fully gone, he raised his lunchbox to Sakura. Here, you can have this, Sakura-san. But, what if Kakashi-sensei finds out? We may get into trouble. Sakura protested, but her stomach immediately didn't agree with her. A loud growl that only a tiger was capable of was heard from their pink teammate. Sasuke turned to a flushed Sakura who was trying not to show her hunger and discomfort. He, too, gave his lunch to Sakura. "You can have this too. Look, Kakashi isn't here, and I don't want you to drag us down later on." Sakura nearly cried from the concern of the two boys as Naruto used a kunai and carefully cut away the ropes that secured Sakura to the tree trunk. "Thank you," Sakura managed to stammer as she took the lunchbox from Naruto. As soon as she was free from the tree trunk, Kakashi appeared from nowhere and Sakura gasped in both shock and dismay. Now they are going to face the music and fail the test. She should have protested violently just now when Naruto offered her his bento, and now, because of her disobedient stomach and its incessant growling, they will fail this test. Now, they must return to the academy and forget about being Genin again. Sakura swallowed, closing her eyes and crossing her fingers, hoping for a miracle to happen. "You all birds," chirped happily above in that blue sky. Sasuke glared, Sakura stilled, and Naruto had a tiny weensy bit of panic in him. Was he the cause of their failure since he had offered his lunch to Sakura first? "Pass. Naruto-kun, take a seat," the Hokage said affably, indicating the chair to the blonde child in front of him. He had received a rather short, due to their sensei's laziness, report from Kakashi that included the most essential things that had happened in the Genin test that their assigned teacher had given them. Of course, the Sandaime had anticipated that it was just a classic bell test in which the real purpose of the test was teamwork and to watch each other's backs. This traditional Genin test had been going on for decades, ever since the hidden village of Leaf was created, because for shinobi, one of the most important rules was teamwork. Without it, missions would fail. The two bells were to let the Genin think that there will only be two who will pass the test, but the true intention is to let them work in harmony and get the golden bells together with a well-thought-out plan. Sarutobi had been surprised, really, ever since he saw the previous reports that Kakashi had made when he was assigned to teams of 3 Genin to give them a final test and pass them as proper, real Genin. That silver-haired elite had never passed any of the Genin teams before in history. Naruto and his team must have reset Kakashi's record for passing, barely. "Hokage-sama," Naruto addressed, sitting down on the chair awkwardly. With his face covered by his porcelain Anbu mask, Naruto's voice was muffled and unrecognizable. The Hokage noted with a tinge of sadness that Naruto still regarded him as merely someone of much higher status who needed to be treated formally. He only wanted to have a nice, long chat with Naruto, and not that Naruto under the mask. It was a challenge to get Naruto to talk to him. The old wizened man sighed, his fingers finding their way to his forehead to give it a pleasant, long massage. He realized with a start that these few days ever since Naruto was readmitted into the academy, all he could do was sigh. Anything concerning the boy made his heart wrench in guilt and grief. The Hokage remembered that particular 12-year-old memory in which he had promised the fourth to make Naruto the village's hero and not let the fact that Naruto was a vessel for a demon pull wool over the villagers' eyes. He remembered those blue orbs that were filled with so much sorrow and pain on that young leader's face before the death god had claimed him after he had done the sacred ritual of sealing the demon in an infant's body. The third knew it was unfair to the fourth and to Naruto because they had carried the burden of banishing the Kyuubi to another place in which it could cause harm to the villagers. But the fourth had wanted to protect Konoha and the people with his sincerity and love for it and was willing to die for it. But Naruto did not have a choice of choosing the road he wanted to walk on, the fate he wanted to face, the destiny he wanted to be a part of. Yondaime had mercilessly and successfully sealed the demon fox into Naruto when he was just a baby who could not choose whether he wanted to be a carrier for the demon. Naruto did not have a choice, he didn't want to be hated, but this was his fate and destiny, one which other people had chosen for him. "Naruto-kun, how is your team?" Sarutobi inquired gently, giving the person under the mask a good-natured smile. He hoped that Naruto would accept them as not only teammates, but also friends. Sarutobi knew it was only fair for Naruto that he, as the Hokage, help Naruto in any way he could while his life is in utter shambles. The clever, lively kid in the past had been no more. Naruto had lost his cheerful self over the years, dedicating his whole childhood to the only things that were left for him, missions and training. Whenever Naruto chatted with the third in the past, he would only talk about missions or anything that related to those subjects. Naruto had never talked anything besides those with only a few things about himself occasionally, but never other people, or anything like "I made a friend today." The third Hokage remembered the vibrancy and joy in the child years ago, whenever they talked about something new. Whenever he asked if Naruto had tried the delicious bento in the village's most famous restaurant or even gone into the newest fashionable ninja weapon store, the bright boy would immediately become silent, his eyes downcast. The Hokage had the realization that slowly dawned on him. Of course, who would want to have a demon vessel enter your store, even though he had done nothing to the village, haven't done anything to harm them yet. Sakura-sen was knocked unconscious a while later after the test started due to and after some time, "I got both the golden bells when I saw the opening that Kakashi-sensei had given me. Although I got both the bells, Kakashi-sensei had said it wasn't the true purpose of the test, and it was until Sasuke-san and I gave our lunches away to Sakura-san before we passed the test, Naruto repeated from memory, frowning slightly under the mask. Why would the Hokage ask him this question when Kakashi would most probably include it in his report? Are there any motives under that smiling face? Naruto eyed the Hokage wearily under his mask. Naruto was tired. He didn't want to play any more games where he had to guess people's intentions towards him. He found it all so exhausting. He was getting paranoid and suspicious over the years when he was facing the Hokage. He still did not understand the kindness that the Sandaime had always given him, which was a big contrast to the villagers' obvious loathing towards him. What does the Hokage want? Sarutobi shook his head, much to Naruto's surprise. The elderly man had a pained look in his eyes, making Naruto feel uncomfortable. Was that pity? Naruto did not want to be pitied. He had no idea why people would want to pity him. It just made the boy feel nauseous when looking at that expression on the Hokage's face. That's not what I mean, Naruto-kun, the Hokage spoke softly. What I mean is that, how do you find your team? Did they treat you nicely or things like that, like what teammates and friends usually do, chat, eat, train together? A hopeful glint appeared in the man's eyes that went unnoticed by Naruto. The blonde was, however, confused. Sir. The Hokage's hopes plummeted to the ground and his heart twisted in guilt. What has he done for Naruto these few years? The only things that he had ever done for that poor boy had only been training him and raising his rank to an Anbu before stripping his position off him again when he just settled nicely. Odd, he hadn't considered Naruto's feelings at all. The Hokage discovered, with a painful start, that he did not let the child decide for himself again. He did not even ask if Naruto wanted any of this at all, even if it was to help him. He realized he had only been really selfish to Naruto. What would Yondaime think of him? Mortified, the Hokage's voice was laced with what seemed to be bitterness and a tinge of pain. It's okay, Naruto. You will get used to them being your teammates now. Just take one step at a time and make friends with them. Yes, Hokage-sama. If there is nothing else, I would like to leave for my mission with my team later on, Naruto responded. Yes, you may. Thank you, Hokage-sama. Naruto bowed and left the room, leaving the Hokage with his guilt-ridden heart. Sasuke-kun. Sakura shouted in glee as she spotted the brooding boy at the place where they are supposed to meet as a team to do a D-rank mission. Ever since the bell test that Kakashi had given them, the pink-haired girl still could not forget the sight of Sasuke reduced to a pulp. If she ever lost him, what would she do next? Did you see Naruto and Kakashi? Sasuke asked, standing up from his sitting position under the shady tree. Their teacher would, undoubtedly, be late, but the yellow-haired boy was nowhere to be seen. Sakura-san, Sasuke-san, Naruto greeted, appearing just next to Sakura, who squeaked in astonishment. She should know that ninja always appeared out of nowhere, but it never ceased to amaze Sakura of Naruto's speed and stealth. She knew better than to question her blonde teammate. He was the only one who could at least get a single hit on Kakashi in the bell test. Even Sasuke-kun didn't get any scratches on her dot. After many hours later, when the morning had turned into afternoon, the sun hanging high in the deep cerulean sky, their teacher decided to turn up. You're late. Sakura yelled, swinging her fists, like the previous time, at him with an intense glare. Sasuke showed emotions at the teacher's tardiness for the first time. He scowled. Naruto remained the only one who was passive. Sorry, you see, there was this really adorable bunny that blocked my way this morning, delivering me many chocolate eggs, and to repay its kindness, I went back to my house to get a few treats for it, was Kakashi's lame excuse. Liar. Sakura shouted hotly, resisting the urge to slap their teacher on the forehead. How can their teacher be so lame and not at all creative? His excuses were always so contradicting, like it was raining, and I had to run for shelter when it hadn't rained at all in the entire day. Ma, I will leave you to decide if it is true or not, but for now, let's all go and begin our D-rank mission for today. Kakashi kept on a smiling face which angered Sakura further. Hadn't he heard what she said? One day, she would get a revenge. But for now, she could only think about the mission. A mission. She had not done one before, only listening to her father's ramblings on his day's mission while eating dinner. His stories would always include battle scenes of his teammate and him fighting against strong opponents, and not just thugs and bandits. Then, Sakura would show how powerful and incredible she was to Naruto and Sasuke when they came upon thugs and bandits. She could already imagine it. While walking on the road, on the mission of saving an important princess of another country, they met a group of burly and wild-looking bandits. After a few rounds of battling, Kakashi-sensei, Naruto-kun and Sasuke-kun fell under their opponent's hands. It is up to her to save the day. Sakura could only daydream when they were walking to their destination with a smiling Kakashi, a scowling Sasuke and a non-responsive Naruto. Applying the whitewash onto the wall of the beautifully furnished living room, Naruto was already finishing his part of the painting, while Sasuke was 3/4 done and Sakura was still slugging her heart out on the other side of the room. Naruto knew D-rank missions are usually easy work and boring too. But his teammate did not know of this valuable knowledge, as Sakura's fantasy of an adventure was crushed like an unimportant ant when they were told to paint the house in 4 hours' time. Naruto had noticed that defiant stare that the owner of the apartment had been giving him throughout the whole mission, making him feel slightly queasy. It was like a hawk staring at its prey until it left a perfect opening for the hawk to chance upon it. Naruto hated these emotions, which would get in his way sometimes. His heart often twisted at the outwardly shown hatred and loathing, and the feeling always left a bitter taste in his mouth. Kakashi must have noticed the way the old woman kept glaring at the blonde because he had pulled her away to begin a long pleasant conversation. Inwardly, Naruto thanked Kakashi so that he wouldn't cringe anymore under that intense gaze. He hated people staring at him, especially the villagers whose eyes always traveled to the whiskers like scars on his face, then to the fabric covering his navel. Of course, he knew what they were trying to look at. The seal that the Yondaime had placed on him to contain the Kyuubi. He remembered that one time when an assassin who had tried to murder him had informed him of the knowledge that he was oblivious of a long time ago. He had been the vessel for the Kyuubi. He had shook in fear before realizing that it must have been true, because if it was not, then what would be the reasons for the hatred directed at him, the shunning of his age group children and assassinations that had been going on for a few times through the past years. He had plotted revenge on that very village that had hated him, shunned him and mistreated him. He became a ninja in hopes of getting his revenge when he's more powerful when he grows up. He will become the most powerful person in the world so that he will not be glared at with hatred. He wanted the villagers to look at him with only fear in their eyes. Naruto was only 6. This is dumb. I don't understand why we must do such missions. It's so boring and we need to use so much effort. I'd rather return to the academy. Sakura then continued to rave, without the presence of Kakashi-sensei and that old woman. She did not know that missions are supposed to let ninjas waste their time and effort like that. If so, she shouldn't have come in the first place. But, seeing her two crushes doing their job diligently, Sakura decided against running away from the house and stop her incessant grumbles and start on her part of the wall hastily. After the time limit of 4 hours was up, Kakashi walked up to his team and declared loudly that the mission was a success as they had finished their work within the time limit. Leaving, the 3 genin of Team 7 waved goodbye to the owner of the gorgeous apartment, with Kakashi beaming at the obviously frightened woman. The old woman reluctantly and grudgingly said a muffled thank you and slammed the door at their faces. I guess this mission went well after all, nah? Sakura smiled slightly, despite having to work for a callous and mean old woman who made them work for 4 hours straight heartlessly. Sasuke's reply was, HN. Naruto rang the doorbell, waiting at the doorstep silently, keeping his promise of coming to the blonde girl's house for the genin party tonight. Wondering if the other genin from his class will turn up for the party, Naruto was about to press the doorbell again when the obstinate large oak door wouldn't budge. His index finger froze in midair when a large broad beam of light was thrown across the sidewalk as the door opened abruptly to reveal Ino. The girl seemed to be out of breath, her cheeks slightly flushed. She wore a green dress with white frills at the bottom of it, a dazzling butterfly-shaped hairpin clasped tightly on her wavy yellow locks of hair. Hey, Naruto, Ino breathed, blushing slightly as Naruto looked at her dress with a hint of interest. He obviously didn't see her before without wearing her normal shinobi clothes. Ino only dressed more stylishly for the party. She had been worried about having no clothes to wear, pacing up and down of her apartment looking for the perfect dress. It had been a good thing that she had Sakura as a friend, kind of, despite the fact that they are rivals, because the pink girl was the one who found the gorgeous outfit for her in her wardrobe. Good evening, Ino-san, Naruto replied. A rare smile crossed his features, making him look more handsome than ever. Why yes, do come in. Ino's face reddened to the color of a tomato as she invited Naruto into her house. Her home was filled with a sweet-smelling aroma of cooking pastries, as soft and slow music was playing from nearby. Hey, Naruto-kun. I'm glad that you came. Sakura chuckled, smoothing down her hair to make sure it stays flat. She hoped to make a good impression on Naruto, letting her hair loose and wearing a dark crimson tank top and miniskirt. I think Sasuke-kun had decided not to come though. But it's good enough that you came. Sakura blushed slightly at her own words. Thank you, Sakura-san. I thought it wouldn't make a difference if I didn't come through. And no. We love you to be here. It will be much different if you didn't come, Ino interrupted, and then paused embarrassingly when she realized what she had said. Thank you, Ino-san, Naruto fumbled for the correct words to say. Had Ino just said that it would be much different if he hadn't come? That's a first. Throughout his life, since when did anybody miss him in any way they could? He had wished for such a thing to happen though, he always felt miserable when the adults either threw him looks of distaste or pretend he's invisible. Naruto rather they glare at him than the latter. He hated being alone, and being treated like he's not there only made him feel more miserable. He hated that feeling, that emotion that always welled up in his chest and often won't go away. It was irritating, it made him feel weak at times. "Here, you can have a seat first while I get you some drinks and some pastries that my mother baked. They are delicious, I promise you." Ino piped up upon seeing the distant and unfocused eyes of Naruto. It was like he was trying to recall a bad memory. Naruto nodded, sitting down on the armchair that Sakura had led him to. The blue-haired girl he always saw in class was there too, smiling shyly at him. Shikamaru, Choji, Kiba and Shino were there too. Shikamaru was sitting beside Choji, who kept on munching on his tidbits, sighing and saying things like, "How troublesome, why did I agree to this? And I wished I'd stay at home." Kiba let his eyes wander around the rather huge house, replying to the few barks from Akamaru occasionally. "Yeah, I wonder what's cooking." Shino was the only one who was unmoving, staring at the new arrival intently. "Ayano, en Naruto K-kun, h hello, and my name is H Hinata H Hyuga, ho how do why you do?" Hinata stuttered, managing to survive her sentence in a minute. It was quite a feat for her already because she had never talked to Naruto before. "Hello, Hinata-san, I'm doing fine, and you?" Naruto replied, unsure of what to say in front of this girl. It seemed that she's shaking and stuttering profusely, like on the brink of fainting any moment. In his mind, Naruto debated on whether to turn away and go help Ino with the pastries to rescue the timid girl from her awkward situation, or to continue this painful conversation. I am very fine, thank you." Hinata's tiny and nervous voice was left unheard when Ino came announcing loudly into the living room. "Here is the food." Ino's mother came after her, balancing a plate of cupcakes and various pastries on either side of her hand, and Inoichi was holding 2 trays of drinks. Naruto and Kiba then went up to the couple and tried to help the struggling two as they nearly collided into each other. Ino smiled at Naruto, who was trying to be helpful. Naruto offered a hand to Inoichi's tray. "Here, let me help you." The sudden gasp was not left unheard. The 2 trays went crashing down onto the marble floor, and the fragile glasses shattered into pieces, the drink spilled everywhere. Everybody looked up in surprise and saw Ino's father shaking in anger, rage and fury. He was glaring at Naruto like the blonde was a monster. I shall not tolerate the presence of this demon boy. Get out of my house this instant." Inoichi roared, his face flushing with anger. Why of all people, why did his daughter invite this demon to their residence? Didn't he often tell her not to get in touch with him? He saw the tiny smile that his daughter had given the demon. Why did Ino do that? Go now. Inoichi ordered again, leaving everyone in the apartment speechless and dumbfounded. Did he just ask Naruto to leave? This is supposed to be a great party. Father, Ino pleaded, tears threatening to fall out from her eyes. Why was her father trying to spoil the party that she had planned with so much effort? Could he not see that she liked Naruto? Her father had promised to let the party be held peacefully. He had promised her not to do anything out of the blue, please. Inoichi was about to swear something foul when Naruto nodded his head. "I understand, sir. I knew this was going to happen. It always happens anyway. It always happens, always happens, always." The blonde boy dashed out of Ino's house, silence lingering in the air. It was Ino who broke the uncomfortable silence. "I hate you, father." She broke out running in the direction that Naruto had run towards. Nobody stopped her. "Naruto. Naruto." Ino yelled, her voice ringing clear in the dark forest. A flash of lightning flared in the ominous dark sky, appearing as a streak of bright yellow amidst the black. Thunder rolled, rain clouds coming into view. Anxiety began to grip Ino as it was going to rain soon. Where was Naruto? Raindrops began to fall from the sky, soaking the soil quickly. The rain began to beat against Ino's unprotected skin mercilessly. The drops began to fall harder, bullets from the sky, aimed at her. Soggy mud splashed onto Ino's beautiful emerald dress as she ran barefooted clumsily, and the heartless drops of water started to affect her vision. A silhouette flashed across her before Ino could comprehend that it was Naruto. Following the shadow blindly, knocking into a few buttress roots of trees that nearly tripped her over, she discovered the blonde boy in a clearing with a hand on a sturdy oak tree and breathing in quick, ragged breaths. He was slightly hunched, droplets of water dripping down from the bangs of his hair. "Naruto?" Ino inquired gently. She crossed her fingers and hoped with a silent desperation that he wouldn't be angry with her father or anything. She had wanted the party to be a success. The demon vessel turned slowly to face her, water flowing down his face in rivulets. They weren't tears. His eyes held no emotion whatsoever that froze Ino's heart instantly. "Naruto, are you alright? I know my father was harsh, but don't take his words to heart, he's always like that." Ino tried to explain, but did not detect any reply from the boy. Was he really hurt from what her father had said? Naruto. Ino tried again, before Naruto interrupted her. "It's okay, Ino-san, I didn't take his words to heart." Naruto's voice was quivering. He was shivering, but not out of the chill from the wind. He looked at his hands. The shaking didn't stop. He wants it to stop badly. Stop. 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 Ino approached Naruto cautiously upon seeing Naruto so shaken. She wanted to go over there and smack him on his forehead to wake him up, but he seemed so disturbed. She did not know what to do. Ino did the second best thing she could do. She hugged him from behind, hands embracing the boy. Naruto stiffened, uncertain of how to react to this sudden action. His trembling still wouldn't stop. He willed it to stop. But he couldn't. His breaths became more erratic, his eyelids threatened to shut, his vision wavered. He wanted all of this to stop. Stop hurting. It hurt so much. So much, go away, stop. His mind couldn't register what was going on. Naruto, I am sorry, Ino started without breaking away from the drenched boy. I don't know why my father reacted like this. Naruto's legs wobbled like jelly, and he collapsed onto fours along with Ino. The dirt sprayed onto the two, but they took no heed of it. Why? Why is she like this? Why? Go away. Stop. I like you, Naruto-kun, Ino managed to admit at last. Naruto's breathing nearly stopped. What had she said? No, it must have been a lie. A lie. Everything he's living for is a lie. He is a liar. No. He doesn't want this. Go away. Stop. No, Naruto choked out. The rain was forever falling and falling. Time had frozen and the rain kept on falling and falling, intending to rain for an eternity. It's all just a lie.